And we welcome everyone to the Love is an Inside Job
Ooh.
panel. This is all women panel. It kind of spawned because these are people on this screen right now. They are my favorite people. And it was a discussion between Janine and Florenza, and it was supposed to be an author discussion. It began to go a little south the more that they talked, and they started talking from the body all the way south. So it began to be a little bit interesting, and because it was such a brief period of time, I said we needed to come and do something extensively about women for women. And this love is an inside job is something that Janine says all the time. And Sesfala, who she teaches about love and forgiveness and part of that, all of these things. And Janice is my editor, my friend, and she had everything to teach me about patience and love and waiting. She's got her Prince Charles, well, her king, as they say, but we're going to sometimes touch on some of the things that happen before she has her Jubilee husband. As I said, there's some people who have the appetizer husband, they have the entree husband, and then they get the dessert husband. She's got the Jubilee husband. So he just kind of surpassed all of that. And Miss Dudley, I worked on Betty Dudley from not Betty Dudley, Betty Clausen from Dudley. I was editing her book, and in her book, it was that thing where was it Mr. Foster? Was it Fuller or Dudley that told the women they were training the women, their saleswomen, to wear cotton underwear? I'm like, how is this man?
That was Mr. SB Fuller, yeah.
And Mr.
Yeah.
Fuller, because he wanted to make sure that the health of the women were intact. So when I read that in her book, I was like, wow. And then we've got my Spitfire right here. This is Florenza. I mean, as this amazing woman. Just I put her for the cavalcade. I put her with Janine, and I put her with Joy. I mean, those things were like they were just on fire. So I was like, we have to do this again. So we're going to cover several topics tonight that have to do and please feel free to post questions in the chat for everyone to see that we will address things that you feel that these women can address. These are everyday women doing extraordinary things. And I thought bringing them, they're all authors. And I'm saying, okay, so this is an amazing time for us to discuss self-love, self-worth, self-confidence. And I mean, we're at a time that we're spending a whole lot of time with self, and some of us aren't liking self quite so much. You know, it's easy to get lost in the day-to-day things because we're working with a wife, with the mother, but now there's more self-time. What do we do with all of these things? And it's like, wow. Okay, so in that, I'm going to have everybody to introduce themselves, and I'm going to start. My screen is set where Sesfala is at the very top. I'm going to let you introduce yourselves, and then I'll call out the next person. You tell a little bit about yourself, and then I'll go to the next person. And then once everybody's introduced, we're going to put that feet to the fire.
Who'd you say was starting?
You.
Oh. Hi, I'm Sesfala. Renee Cobb Dishman Sesfala. I've been Sesfala for maybe 30 years. That's my spiritual name. I have been a minister. I am a minister. I am a social worker. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. I'm a friend. I'm a wife. I'm a lover. I love people, and I love working with women. I work with men too, but I love working with women because I just feel like, especially maybe not so much right now, but maybe 10 or 15 years ago, women weren't as self-confident and did not receive all of the accolades and support that they need to become who they are. And so I love working with women. I love helping women become their best selves. And as I help them, I help myself, because it's impossible to help somebody without helping yourself. So I love helping people. And I love each one of the women on here, the ones I know personally and the other beautiful faces that I don't know. So that's a little bit about who I am.
And I would like to also say she is, because healing is an ongoing thing, is my sexual abuse counselor. A lot of you all have read my books, and she's also featured in some of my books. But she was very influential. She is licensed in that, family therapist, all of these things, and she's a minister. So she brings a spiritual aspect to it. It isn't just about the clinical approach to getting over sexual, physical abuse. And she was wonderful in that. And that is how we came to get her a book done, because everybody in my circle was writing books at one point in time, because I was so happy to be writing books. And it was really funny. I wrote about her book in a book 3 years before she even wrote it. And there was somebody who is Deborah Mitchell. She was looking for that book for 3 years, didn't realize it hadn't even been written yet. And now she's a member of our church. But it's just an amazing thing how people come into your life for a reason, a season. They stay for a long period of time. We've been knowing each other over 20 years. And she was first my boss. And then she became so much more. So I just thought I'd throw that out there so everybody knows. So next, I want Janice. I'd like for you, Janice M. Allen. I'd like for you to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa, too. This is beautiful. And my name is Janice M. Allen. I am an author. I write fiction, and that's thanks to my wonderful friend Lisa Woodson and Elena Kai, because she is the one who identified that gift in me. And I shared in another panel how sometimes how we all have gifts, but sometimes it takes someone from outside of you to see your gifts, to identify it, and even to activate it. And so she has been very instrumental in my journey as an author, but also as a friend. She has seen me, I guess, change and grow, coming from a very, a very toxic marriage of maybe a decade and a half, almost 2 decades. And she saw my growth through that. She was not one who would always be there. If it was me, I would do this, I would take that. She was not that person, but she was there to support me as I grew through it. Now I am happily remarried, very happily remarried. In the process of getting remarried, I also stepped into being a first lady, which was not, on my list of must-do things. So this is just a new part of life for me. But I'm very pleased with all of these beautiful, wonderful women, and I'm just really looking forward to all the wisdom that'll be shared during this time.
Indeed, indeed. And now we're going to have Betty Clausen of Dudley Beauty College come on in and tell us a little bit about herself.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm so excited to be with all these wonderful authors. When you called a few weeks ago and asked me to be on this panel, I said, oh my goodness, I'm so honored. I don't know if I got all this love stuff that most people really look for. The love that I have just changed me. And I was listening to the minister as she said, who is Betty Clausen? And that's what I was thinking as she was talking. Who is Betty Clausen? Betty Clausen is a person who truly believes that her gift or her assignment is to spend time with people that may not have the answers to finding out who they are. And how do you do that, Betty Clausen? Because you have to reveal who you are and who you have been and what you've been through and how you got through it and how you felt when you were going through it. And that's what I've learned to do over the years, is just, just be a glass house. Yeah, I didn't like that. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, I did that. And when other people feel that, well, if you did it and you made it through, then I can too.
Yes.
And so I think that what I've learned and what I've learned to love about me is the ability to be transparent and the ability to let folk know it's okay to make some mistakes. It's okay to do some things that you may frown on later on, only because it takes you to where you want to go. And so tonight, I'm just happy to be with all you beautiful, beautiful angels. And a special thank you to Nalea Kai. Lisa Wilson.
Well, right then, got this little British thing going on.
Nalea
There. Yes, yes. We'll have,
I have to thank her, because she took my story and made me tell it. She took my story as I told it and made it believable, because I told it, but I just said it's a pound cake. She said, no, it's a pound cake with 6 eggs and so much butter and that kind of butter and that kind of margarine and that kind of flavoring, and beat it so many times. She made me tell the whole story. Yeah. And I thank her for that, because that telling the whole story have given so many people the courage to continue.
Yes.
and that was a great deal of what someone said about listening to your story, about your honesty, about forgiveness. That you hadn't forgiven. And I'll let you cover that when it comes to it. That I thought that was the reader said that was extremely powerful. So there was a awesome point to that. So I'm going to slide it on over to Miss Janine A. Ingram.
Oh man, I'm so excited to be here. You're on my street when we're talking about love. I'm the divine messenger of love. They call me Lady Love. They call me the love goddess. I mean, I think love is the greatest revolutionary thing we can do on the planet. One of my favorite things that I think about when I think of love is Prince. I had the opportunity to interview him, and the last thing I asked him was, what is the last thing you want to leave your listening audience? And he said, when one loves oneself, discovers oneself, and master oneself, one discovers God. And I said, wow. And so as we journey this path on love is such a soul awakening experience. So I think this is just such a great opportunity for people to really see the real journey in life is to love, and to love oneself. And the greatest thing we can do, the greatest expression of God, is for us to love the gift that God has given us, as God has put God's self inside of us and said, go forth and be prosperous in the land. And so as we express love as God. So I'm super excited to be here with these beautiful women on the panel. I can't wait to see how this all unfolds and uncovers and what we talk about. So thank you, Lisa, and all of you wonderful ladies. I'm so grateful to be a part of this panel.
Yes.
Indeed. And we have the co-host. The host is, we are hosting this together, and that is Lorenza Denise Lee. And we met online. And I thought it's been the most amazing thing of how you meet people and you think that you're out there supporting them, but yet they're the ones supporting you. And she will come and she will breathe a little life into me when there's some things going on in the background, and she'll say, no, sister, let me explain this to you, or let me explain that to you. And I listen. I don't know this woman from Eve's cat, but I listen. And I just think it's just been the most amazing process of learning to trust people you've never even laid physical eyes on, that can speak life into you in your process and in your journey. So I'm going to let her introduce a little bit about herself, and then we're going to get right on into it.
Yes, well, I am Florenza. I am compassionate. I am outgoing. I am a lover of people. I am a creative. I am a believer. I am also a very spiritual being. I am an author of amazing children's books that focus on social emotional learning. I am a wife to an amazing man. We've been together 38, 39 years. I sometimes get stuck in that. I am an advocate for our veterans. I am a speaker. Um, I am a publisher. When I get off my butt and get busy, I will go back to hosting my online radio show. I am a book doula. I will help those who have books within them to birth beautiful book babies. And I am just excited to be in this space right now. I'm making my little notes as you guys are writing. And if I kind of get that deer in the headlights look, nothing's wrong. It's just that there is something transformative that's taking place in this very moment. I practice mindfulness, and I'm very keen into the move of God in the now. And I don't know if anyone else is sensing it, but there's just going to be a transformational shift that's going to take place in the women who are present now, but those who are watching this recording years from now, because magic is about to take place. And I don't know if you all are sensing it the way that I am, but I am just excited for this moment right now, and for the vision that God gave Lisa to bring this together.
Yes, yes.
Wow, wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why I have these people on the panel, because I'm telling you, they are some of the most powerful people that I have met and laid eyes on. I mean, they have each impacted my life in some form and has made me a better person, which goes on to help me to make someone else a better person. So I am going to post, I'm going to go ahead and start posting in between, but I'm going to lay out that first question. When we say love is an inside job, love is an inside job, what does that mean? I'm going to let each one of you all expound on that. What does that term mean to you? Love is an inside job. So we're going to start in reverse. Janine, because that's where I first heard the statement.
Wow. Well, growing up with a grandmother who was one of the wisest women I've ever met, she used to tell us, love, there's no ill love can't heal. There's no prescription that love can't fill. And for every question, love is the answer. Not knowing what that meant, going through life and going through the path, I remember sitting in the middle of my bed hurting. And I was in so much pain. He did me this way and all life stuff. And I remember Spirit spoke to me and said, write down everything that I particularly cared about this particular situation and what I didn't. And in that moment, my grandmother's words came to me when I got through. She said that love is an inside job. And if I wanted love to show up in my space, I had to be love. So what I understand love to be an inside job as my journey, it's a soul awakening. It's when it awakens the soul and you begin to live authentically your truth. You begin to speak your truth. You begin to honor who you are as a woman or a man. You know, love opens up switches. And it's not, I thought, oh, I love myself and no, it's such a journey. It's such a journey, and it's a beautiful journey when you begin to learn the soul awakening. And that soul awakening is the reason you came to the planet. It's the reason you incarnated. It's the reason you are who you are. And it's the greatest part of who you are, because love is it's the highest vibratory energetic expression on the planet. So when every cell in your body reeks love, you don't need protection. People think you got to protect yourself because love. No, nothing can stand in love's energy but love. And when anything is not of love, what love does, it moves it right out to space. And so love is definitely a process that comes from the inside out. And it's not an overnight process, because we've been so indoctrinated with so many things, so sometimes it's a process to get to that space where you really honor and love and cherish the gift that you are to this planet. So if I had one word, I would say it's a soul awakening experience, and it's something you got to experience. Too many of us intellectualize love, but love is not an intellectual. It's not a mind thing. It's a heart thing. And so when we begin to experience the most powerful energy on the planet, which is love, you will know it, because it shifts and transforms everything is around. Love is such an amazing gift to the planet.
Indeed, indeed. That's very powerful. Janice, love is an inside job.
I can start off with where Janine was saying about loving yourself. Look, having come from a background of sexual abuse, you know, it tarnishes your value of yourself. You are worthless to yourself, and even though you may not, that may not be in the forefront of your mind, you still operate that way. So you still allow yourself to be treated that way, especially like for me, because it was a stepfather. So it was the person who was who in my life should have been my protector. That was the person I needed to be protected against, and the person who should have been pouring into me value and how much he cherished me, and so that I could get that feeling for myself. Instead, he took that all away and just left so much negativity. So I went through my life looking almost, I can say it like this, I was putting myself in the hands of men who would not mean any good to me. They could not be good to me. It was not in them to give me anything good, but I put myself in their hands because somehow deep inside, I think it felt like if one of these men would just stop one day and say, "Oh my God, I'm harming you, I'm hurting you, and you're so valuable, you don't deserve this," and somehow that would heal all the hurt that had been done, and somehow I would miraculously love myself and they would love me, and you know, it would be a fairy tale thing. But I had to, through the course of counseling, I remember there was one time when a counselor gave me an assignment. He said, just write a letter to the man who abused you. Write a letter, because he was dead by then, but you know, really write a letter, because he needed to find a way to make me, my counselor was male, and he needed to find a way to have me connect with my feelings, because I mean, I had mastered, you know, putting up fences and brick walls and vaults and everything so that, you know, I couldn't get to my feelings and they couldn't get to me. But when I wrote that, one of the things that I remember saying in there was how I, at this point in my life, wanted to be treasured and valued, and how I recognized that that was something I was supposed to have, not just as a woman, but as a human being brought into this world. You are a treasure. Like Janine said, you're a gift. So you should have that instilled in you. And to come full circus, to come full circle, years later, because at that time I was in an emotionally abusive marriage. And again, I'm waiting for this person who could not be good to me to be good to me. But after I finally divorced and came out of that, and that was difficult for me to do. But after that, I remember Sesfala had prophesied to me. She said, the first thing she said is, don't put God in a box, because I guess she knew I was going to put God in a box. And she said, there is a man that God is going to bring into your life, and all this man wants is to be good to you. And so I'm like, Sesfala, I love you, thank you. But in my mind, I'm like,
okay.
I wasn't looking for that. I'm like, I had enough of that. No. But God actually, a couple of years later, God caused that to be. God had already had it in the works, and I just didn't know it. But God brought my current husband into my life. And I remember one day I was sharing with him that same letter that I had written to my abuser, and I was reading it, and it was like almost 3 pages long. After I finished it, he went back and he said, did you notice you wanted to be cherished? You wanted to be adored. You wanted to be treasured. And when I was reading it, even, those things didn't stick to me, but he heard that, because that was his intention for me. He came there into my life prepared to do that. But that still all goes back to love being an inside job. Had I not had time through counseling and through God to flush out everything that was in there, to actually be brave enough to look at that stuff, because you bury that stuff alive because you don't want to deal with it, but you bury it alive. It is alive and it will come back up and haunt you. But to be able to come through that and to heal through that allowed me to receive love. So love is an inside job first, because if we're not prepared to receive it, it doesn't matter who does or does not give it to us. We have to be fertile ground to receive that love. And that has been my experience. So I'm thankful that my husband is Pastor Sammy Allen, and I'm grateful because he is Sesfala, exactly what you said God was going to bring into my life. He is exactly that man. And from him, and with this marriage, I see in motion love. And I was one of those people who knew just, maybe 1 or 2 couples who had an ideal marriage of what I thought, marriage really should be. And I was content to just see it in them, because then I knew, well, at least it's not just on TV. It's actually real for somebody. And I'm happy that it's real for you, but I never thought it would happen for me. But again, love is an inside job. And when we can be healed and have our ground fertile and ready to receive that gift, it makes a difference. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Sesfala.
Okay. So I want to start off by reading this, because I love this quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. He says, "When I speak of love, I'm not speaking of some sentimental bosh or weak response. I am speaking of that force which all great religions talk about. It is the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door that leads to the ultimate reality. Love is how we change the world, the key that unlocks the door." And so when I read that, I thought, wow, that's what love really does. And when I think about love, there is this failure to thrive that is a diagnosis that they give to babies whose parents and don't love and nurture them. A lot of those babies die because they have not been given love. Now, the ones that don't die physically die emotionally. They die inside, so they become those young men and young women who we label as psychopaths, as sociopaths. Love, had they received that love, something different would have happened. So when I think about love, I think about the fact that we have to really pour love into our children and into the children that we see. When they say don't spoil kids, I think we should spoil babies. We need to spoil them so that they know how important they are. Yes. As a child grows up knowing that they're important, that they're loved, and whatever they do, and I'm not talking when they do destructive things, I'm talking about when your child does something that you just lavish so much love, so many compliments on them, that they begin to feel like they're important. When you feel love, you feel important, you feel supported, you feel like there's somebody there that has your back. See, love will unlock those dreams inside yourself. They'll unlock you being able to move past all of those stumbling blocks. But we have to put that love in our children and the love in ourselves. We gotta love who we are, not criticize, not look at the bumps on our hips or our thighs and say, oh, but we gotta love it, because you know why? God gave us that. Amen. Because God's inside of us. And we are God in action. But we got to know that and believe that. So it's so important that we begin to understand what love is about. Love is that key, as he says, that unlocks the magic, and that things just begin to happen around you because you focus on love. You know, Marion, I can't think of her last name, but she said, we came to the earth scene in love. God brought us here to be love, but we learn how to fear. And we learn how to fear because of all the people around us who talk about fear, who put that on our children and put that on us. But as we grow and move in love, we begin to, as Janine said, move past that and knowing that God has our back. But it's about love. It's about moving in that space when we can love. And it's so important that we love our children, that we teach them that they are loved, that we teach them they're the greatest thing happening, not in comparison them to anybody else, but only themselves. And as we do that, our children will break all kinds of barriers. They'll be the greatest scientists. They'll tune into that indwelling God spirit, and they will be doing all kinds of wonderful things that we can't even imagine. But that's because that love in them opens the door. It opens the door to all that there is. But we have to work on loving ourselves and sharing that love with others. Is this so important that we as parents, grandparents, bonus moms, daughters, you know, whatever, taking that love and sharing it. And watch how we talk to our children. Watch how we talk to people, because it needs to come from that space of love so that we can change what's going on with our kids today. As we come together as a group and even sending out love, you know, sending it out into the world. See, prayer changes things. And when we come together as a group talking about love and sending love, and in the love that God talks about, we can create miracles that nobody will be able to understand, but God does. Love is an inside job that we help each other and our children to move from that space inside out.
Indeed, indeed. Now I'm gonna ask my co-host wow. All of those answers were just like so powerful. So powerful.
Yes.
So powerful. I want to hear, Florenza, I'd like for you to share what love is an inside job. What does that mean to you?
First, echoing everything that has been said, I believe that it comes to a point of knowing, loving, and trusting yourself. Knowing, loving, and trusting yourself, so that when you then enter into any relationships, or as I call them, ships, if it's emotional ships, relationships, partnerships, parentship, any kind of ship, you don't have to worry about sinking. And what happens is, because we are broken, we're fragmented, we are lost in who we are, we seek other people to fulfill what we view as voids. And we partner with broken people, hoping that broken people can fix our brokenness. And we end up being doubly broken because they didn't tell us they were all the way broke when they saw us. So now our half brokenness is a quarter brokenness, because that sap sucker done sapped up that little half of our half and ran. So it really is an inside job, but it's inside our total being, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, relationally. It's all of those aspects of who we are. I'm oftentimes asked of young people in dealing with relationships, and I tell them, if you treat that person that you're getting ready to enter a ship with the same as you would receiving an organ, how differently would you look at them? Because this is the deal. I love Lisa and I've never met Lisa. And if Lisa needed anything, Lisa really knows in just this short span of time that she could get it from me, even if it meant an organ. As much as I love her, if I'm not compatible to the way that she was created, my love for her will then kill her. And I tell people, that man is promising you the sun, the moon, the stars, the clouds. And that sounds real romantic until you realize you're a fish and what he just did was promise you death. And so when you know who you are, you focus on what you're being offered to do as was already said. You make sure that it's compatible with you and that pure love, as was said, will chase that away. You won't have to force that person away. You won't have to push that person away. What will happen is they know. Stealers and thieves realize when they can steal and theft. But when your aura and everything about you is pure, and they come into that presence, and there's nothing for them to be able to attach to. See, that's what love will do. Love will ensure that nothing that shouldn't be there can attach to you. Those little boogaboos attach to your weakness. They attach to that brokenness. They attach to that place that you don't feel valued, where you don't feel acceptable. They attach to our brokenness. And so it doesn't mean that we're 100%, but what it does say is we are so comfortable in whatever that percent is that you can't come latch it on unless you're getting ready to be part of. And so that's why love is an inside job, because it ensures that you don't have any broken places that you have not addressed. They may not be healed, but you have addressed them in such a way that you recognize it so that someone else can't come and attach to it to make it more broken.
Okay, I'm going to halt the recording for a moment.